Hey, what's up you guys? I gave myself 1 year to watch every single animated Disney feature film with a theatrical release, um, and I'm ranking them all now. That's what this video is. Okay, I don't know what else to say for this intro. Welcome to the show. I'm just gonna start at the bottom because obviously we don't want to finish with number 64. So, number 64. Can I stop being annoying? No, I'm sorry, I can't stop. Okay. This movie is boring. Like, I don't know what else to say. I've seen some people talk about this movie and they're like, whoa, it's so cool. It's like a student film project. Yeah, I think so too, but not in a good way. So during the early 40s, the Snow White money had kind of run out, and America was struggling, as was most of the world, due to World War II. Disney had started making propaganda films for the American government. As a result of them not having a lot of money, they only released these like small featurette films that consist of anthology stories between 5 and 10 minutes, sometimes even shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. And this was the first of its kind. So the plot of the movie, or the framing of the stories, of the narratives of all of these anthologies, it's about a bunch of Disney animators going to Latin America and taking in the culture. And I don't know if I'm legally allowed to have this opinion, but I am not interested in the experiences that these random American animators had of going to Latin America and putting it into a film. Like, this is what I learned. Maybe if they had been a little bit more, maybe if they had done a bigger deep dive, it would be more interesting. But as it stands, it's literally just a story about, I went to this country and this is what they eat, and this is how they dress, and this is how they dance. Just unbelievably boring. Again, I know it was made under dire circumstances, and so I can't be upset at the result, but it does make it so that the result is worse than the other works that Disney has produced since. And so, with that in mind, let's go on to number 63. Oh my god, what a shocker! Another one of the wartime featurettes! Oh, that's so crazy. Who would have seen that coming after the way I spoke about Saludos Amigos? Okay, Make Mine Music is, again, just kind of boring. None of the anthologies are really interesting. None of the stories and shorts have something gripping about them. There's something about, like, star-crossed lovers where the old people, it's kind of giving Romeo and Juliet, but it's just not interesting. It's not interesting. There's also domestic violence in this. Also, I watched this on YouTube because Disney Plus didn't have it. I had Disney Plus for a year just so that I could watch all of the feature films. They didn't have this movie. But then so I watched it on YouTube in like chunks, which is maybe also part of why I had such a negative opinion on it, because I had to put in so much, you don't understand, I had to put in so much work to watch this movie. I had to watch it in clips on YouTube like I was in 2012 trying to watch anime. Like, it was rough. It was rough. The version I watched, like the clips that I watched, it ended with David Bowie having some sort of monologue, which was something. I think it's a re-release of some sort that I watched, because obviously David Bowie was not born early enough to actually have been in the movie as an adult, but I think he was talking about how he liked it as a kid. So this must have been some sort of a re-release, and it's the only version that I could find, and I can't be bothered to research about it because it's number 63 on the list. So let's move on. Numero 62.
And soon it was plain to the multitude that Sue was again altitude.
And you guessed it, another featurette with anthology. Okay, who cares? Like, I'm just gonna read what was in my notes. In this movie, there's a girl who has 0 survival skills, a boat that's a flop, 2 of the 3 gay caballeros, which we will talk about later, and a hateful ass horse. In my notes, I wrote, these shorts are uncomfortably sexually charged. So do with that what you will. Number 61.
No, we've never once talked about having a family before, but
I know! It feels like the kind of thing you just jump into with both feet and nary a plan!
Alright, listen. I don't mean to be too mean to the people who pour their hearts into this film, but I am not charmed by this film in the slightest. During this time, Disney were so dead set on making children watching their movies depressed for some reason. I understand the want to switch up the dynamic between Ralph and Vanellope, but it just sucks that Ralph is so insecure when the first movie gives us the impression that he has been changed for good. I don't think it doesn't make sense. I just think it kind of sucks. I don't want to watch an entire movie of what is essentially a grown man being freaked out and pathetic because a little girl wants to move on with her life. That's not fun for me. I'm not enjoying myself. Here are the things that don't make any sense. Why is Ralph afraid of disagreeing with a child? Why is he pathetic? Why is Vanellope having an existential crisis at like the age of 6? Why is there no Vanellope in the Disney spot when they get there? Is this a parallel universe where Wreck-It Ralph was never created? Why are the princesses immediately ready to fight this small child when she comes to them? This movie also exacerbates the whole problem with how many Ralphs there really are that arises in the first film. Is there one Ralph in total? Or are there many Ralphs? Because the movie treats it like there's only one Ralph. But then how is he on everyone's screens at the same time if it's been established that he can only be on the screen if he is physically there? I'm pretty sure it's not a question I'm supposed to think about, but it becomes impossible to not think about it by the very nature of the story and the world that they're setting up. On top of all of this, it's also kind of a really boring movie. It's almost 2 hours long, and as I got to the half point of the movie, I had just written in my notes, this is like a parody. Are we being for real? The way I'm not even halfway through, I'm so bored, and now she's singing. So, I think another issue with the movie is that these characters also don't have anything actually interesting to say that couldn't be said by literally any other characters. When you're making a sequel, I would like for it to make sense that you're telling the story with these characters. It just doesn't really track for me. There's nothing about the story that really feels cohesive with the world building and the narrative from the first movie even. At least Tammy and Felix are still fun. But the movie does suffer from not giving them a B plot. It was right there with them raising 15 children together, but we literally don't see any of it until right at the end, and all we get is a bad joke about parenting being hard. Not even the princesses were fun this time around. I watched this movie when it came out, and I remember being slightly happy about seeing them, or like finding the scene a little cute at least. But this movie is kind of not good. 60.
Dad, stop!
So as I was watching this movie, I did feel a little bit sad knowing that this movie could never be made today because it's definitely too woke for 2026 standards, which is kind of sad. But I also don't think it's like really woke. It has like a woke coat on top of it. You know, there's the interracial couple and the gay son and the whole thing about the grandfather not understanding the father and then the father doesn't understand the son, and it's like a bonding movie or it's supposed to be about like toxic masculinity and stuff. It just doesn't really hit for me on any of those points. I could smell the resolution from a mile away, especially for the time that it was made. It's very similar to Encanto in like resolution of the story. I also feel like everything was just kind of milquetoast, and it's supported by the fact that Disney didn't really promote or push this movie, so it just doesn't feel revolutionary or interesting or important on any level. And I don't know if that's the writer's fault or if it's like executive meddling. There's a part of me where I watch this movie and I just kind of yearn for the real version of this movie. I yearn for the version of this story that makes it clear that not everything is just one conversation away from being fixed or healed. This idea that this conservative ass grandpa is gonna change and become a better person just because he realizes the hurt that he caused. That's not the way things work in real life. And I understand that this isn't supposed to be a one-to-one comparison of the real life struggles that people between generations face with each other. I mean, that's why the grandfather is totally fine with the whole gay thing, right? It's supposed to not be a one-to-one comparison of the real life cultural divide between generations. And I don't know, I get that it's a kid's movie, but I also just think that modern Disney deeply struggles with show don't tell and interesting layered characterization. It's all just kind of Tumblr OC descriptions as far as I'm concerned. And I want something real, damn it. You know? I want real conflict, not just like, oh, we had a disagreement and dad went into the mountains. But I don't care about dad. I don't care about their relationship. I don't care about the characters or the conflict at all. And then all of a sudden there's this big ass resolution where we're supposed to feel something for the characters when I didn't even bother getting invested to begin with because everything just felt so milquetoast. 59.
What is this delightful culinary treat?
This movie. This movie. Oh, I'm not hungry. Raya and the Last Dragon. When I first started watching the movie, I had some kind of hope about Raya and her personality and character, since a lot of Disney princesses and a lot of female protagonists in Disney movies in the 2010s and early 2020s have had sort of the same kind of quirky personality, not exactly the same, but definitely similar enough for it to be noticeable. I was very happy to see that Raya seemed to be a no-nonsense action-adventure hero. However, as the movie progressed, I did in fact notice that Raya and the Last Dragon is not free from quirk. And I'm not a hater of the quirk. I just don't think every single Disney movie needs an Anna or an Olaf or a Vanellope or a sassy banter between Moana and The Rock, sorry, Maui. Or it needs a quirky, nerdy girl like Rapunzel, or someone who's really into her interests like Judy Hopps, or someone who's just an amalgamation of all of the people who have come before, like Mirabelle, or what's her face from Wish. Oh, I don't know, like, it just kind of breaks my heart. I don't know, I don't need this little girl to say, I'm kind of a nerd.
Yeah, I a little bit of a dragon nerd.
Children are annoying. Let her be annoying, challenge. Like, why is she talking like she's a grown-up? She's a little baby. I hope this doesn't come across as me saying I don't want my female characters to have interests or be passionate about things. I just don't understand why the passion always is written in the exact same formulaic way, even when it doesn't fit the story. Like, Raya and the Last Dragon is an adventure story. It's supposed to be, like, full of action and full of heart and full of world building and whatever. Why is she talking like this? You are not Zoe Deschanel on New Girl. Like, you are not a dweeb. And Raya is far from the biggest problem character-wise in this movie. At least she's... I don't know anything. I was about to say something, but I don't know what. But you have Sisu, voiced by Awkwafina, who's annoying and quirky. We have Little Noi, who's for some reason a fighting boss baby. You have every single other side character like Donghu, Tile Chief, Donghai, Chief Benja, and they all talk in the exact same way. They might appear different and they might have like different things that they're good at or different qualities that they have as people, but they don't talk differently. They don't act like they're actually from different worlds, from different cultures. And don't even get me started on Boone. Boone? The only character who should ever be allowed to be named Boone is the gay best friend of Chad Radwell. Chad Radwell from the Dickie Dollar Scholars. So at the start of this movie, some character that I don't care about destroyed some object that I also don't care about to kind of destroy the world that I also don't care about. And all I could think about was how much more impactful it was when Tinkerbell destroyed the Moonstone in Tinkerbell and the Lost Treasure, a 2009 American animated fantasy adventure film directed by Clay Hall and the second installment in the Disney Fairies franchise. This movie is a banger, this scene is amazing, everything around it is just well written, and not even like amazingly well written, but just in the sense that like we can feel the panic start to set in as this girl has just ruined a priceless object. Meanwhile, in Raya and the Last Dragon, everything is so dramatic and everything is so like distant from me. Like, I watch it and I just don't relate to the characters, I don't feel for them, I don't think any of this matters because I know it's just a movie, and I can't even trick myself into believing that it's not a movie because the dialogue is so stilted and awkward and like it insists upon itself. I was about to start talking about Namari and Raya and their conflict, but like, does anybody even really care? She's such a nothing character. She just has an ugly bob and an attitude. She's no Zuko, she's no Catra. I also want to harp on some of my other grievances with the side characters. The dragons don't feel like they aesthetically belong in the movie. I don't know why they look like 5th generation My Little Ponies. If this movie was camp, all of this would kind of be fab, but it's not, so it's not fab. Now I just have to believe that this random baby is a scammer and a competent fighter. Girl, no! Every single time this baby was on screen, I just kept thinking of that one tweet that's like, guy who has only watched Boss Baby, getting distinct Boss Baby vibes from this movie. Only it actually does give Boss Baby vibes. Why are we watching Boss Baby? I'm so confused. This is not what I signed up for. I unfortunately just had such a hard time caring about anything going on. It all just fell flat due to the characters having maybe two personality traits each and sort of bad dialogue between each other to top it off. And the humor didn't help. Unfunny, not clever in the slightest. And I know it's a kids movie, but it really does seem like the Disney executives told the writers to cram a joke into every single interaction, even when it's not needed because they're scared of the 5-year-olds watching asking their parents to pull up TikTok instead. It all just reads as so insecure and not streamlined in the slightest, and can you tell I'm not a fan of the way modern Disney movies are made with such blatant need for optimized profit. And it kind of sucks in this movie especially because you can tell so much thought and effort went into the animation and world building. There was so much interesting stuff conceptually, it just didn't stick the landing for most of it, and it really saddens me. But to be positive, I liked it when she was riding on her little pet tuk-tuk. It made a nice ASMR sound, and the movie would actually have been really good if that was all that was happening in the movie. Just riding. Number 58.
Now we're three gay caballeros.
The Three Caballeros is another one of Disney's featurette films from the 40s. I did place it higher in the ranking than the other featurettes because at least this has some sort of framing device and it wasn't as boring as Saludos Amigos. Much like the other movies from this time, I had a hard time getting myself to be invested in any of these short stories. See, unlike a Fantasia, there isn't really any greater story being told through its narrative device, which in this case is just Donald Duck watching a series of shorts. There also isn't any thematic cohesion or meaningful structure as far as I can parse. Number 57.
I sold the cow for some magic beans.
Beans?
I didn't hate this movie. Maybe it's because there were only 2 stories instead of like the 7 stories that exist in Melody Time. I had a fun time. I was able to sort of get invested in Bongo the Bear and the story that they were telling in Mickey and the Beanstalk. Donald Duck had the chance to be truly psychotic, which is always fun to see. So yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites from this awkward time in Disney's history. 56.
We want to reach Motufatu, break Nalo's curse. We gotta come together.
Okay, so this actually was supposed to be a show, if I'm understanding it correctly, and I hate to say it, but it does feel that way when you watch the movie. Like, it does not feel like one movie. It feels like many short stories with contained narratives serving as, like, building blocks in a greater narrative. I low-key don't like how much they reuse from the first movie so early on, especially. They have the dancing with the grandma, who's now a ghost. They have the little sister who looks exactly like Moana. Not really, but like kinda. Which makes sense because they're sisters, but you know, still notable. The little sister meeting the ocean in the same place is also similar. They're also reusing goons from the first movie. I don't know. I also don't really care about these side characters. It's just kind of boring and not interesting and not gripping. But it's cute seeing the characters again. Like, I like to see Moana doing Moana stuff, I guess. Okay, I can't be talking forever about every single one of these movies, so moving on. Number 55.
Kay, here's a sword.
It's very fitting that Sword in the Stone is right above Moana 2 in my ranking because much like Moana 2, this also feels like it was supposed to be an animated show that was then squished together into one movie. The 2D animation has this sort of scratchy feel that many of the movies from this era of Disney have. And while I think this style's prevalence in the 60s and 70s for Disney was mostly due to budget constraints during the era, it's probably my favorite era style-wise that Disney has ever had. I just think it's endlessly charming and it feels very handcrafted. And maybe it's just because I've had the misfortune of being part of the generation that had to see all of the movies directed at kids go from being 2D animated to 3D animated. I just long for the feeling of seeing something so obviously drawn by hand rather than sculpted in a computer. But yeah, not much else to say. Arthur was okay. I don't have any strong opinions on him. I really didn't like Merlin though. Madame Mim was cute. I thought the fight that they had with her was really fun. That was probably the highlight of the movie actually. But the rest, I don't know. I could take it or leave it. 54.
Is that you talking? Or your brother?
So, what am I supposed to say about this movie? Like, really be honest with me. What do you think I'm supposed to say about this movie? Everybody in this movie is chopped. Okay, maybe that's not what I'm supposed to say about this movie. I don't know. This movie isn't bad, but oh my god, I was so bored watching it. It's definitely the kind of movie that is largely hindered by its aesthetic and general vibe. It's not really poorly written or bad, it's just. Yeah, I actually don't have the words to describe the depressing vibe of this movie. It's just like, ugh, such a drag to get through. And really, how many people are dying for someone to talk about this movie? Like, I doubt anyone watching this video is gonna be like, oh, damn it, why did she not talk about dinosaur for 20 minutes? Actually, let's check. Dinosaur stands make some noise. See how it's quiet? Let's just move on. Number 53.
Luisa's gift is fading, and I think it's all because of me.
Uh-oh. Okay, before I start being critical, let me just offer a little bit of good faith and say that this movie is well animated, it's beautiful, Lin-Manuel Miranda is a good lyricist. Let's clear the searches actually. Lin-Manuel Miranda was just tired, Lin-Manuel Miranda prodigy, Lin-Manuel Miranda Hamilton, Lin-Manuel Miranda lyricist. Also, without this movie we wouldn't have corn plating, which is a most precious word to me. Okay, I'm really scared. I feel like everyone loves this movie, and here I am just to poo-poo all over it. I'm really sorry. Maybe I'll start with the small stuff, the small critiques for this universally beloved film, and then work my way up to the harsher critiques. The humor is too on the nose for me. They have a Let It Go reference in the year 2021. I groaned when I heard that. The character Isabella gets a new outfit near the end of the movie, and I think it's gross and ugly and tacky. I'm not a fan of the magic system, or at least how it's handled. I think the casting for the characters is not the best, especially considering it's a musical. I think it really needed some real Broadway-trained singers for the voices to really bring it all together. The soundtrack is not amazing in my opinion. They have that one song, We Don't Talk About Bruno, which I do think is catchy. Everything else is not it. Again, Lin-Manuel Miranda, lyricist, Lin-Manuel Miranda, genius, Lin-Manuel Miranda, mastermind, Lin-Manuel Miranda, once-in-a-lifetime talent. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not connecting with this musical. This movie has a lot of characters. It's a really bloated cast in my opinion, but it's not bloated because of the number of characters. It's bloated because of the way that the characters are utilized. Unfortunately, I don't think that the movie really balances the different personalities or the different conflicts very well. It feels very like one and done, like you talk about one conflict and then it's over, and then you talk about the next and then it's over. And some of the conflicts don't even really get resolved. They're just kind of open-ended, and I think that they're supposed to be resolved in the end. But I'm gonna get to why I don't like the ending or the resolution of this movie. I think the conflict that's handled the best is maybe the one between Mirabel and Isabella, but even that one doesn't really move me and it's not really gripping to me. Again, maybe I'm just a hater. I don't know. All I know is that when I was listening to Luisa sing her song, I was rolling my eyes. I'm sorry. It's just a scene to be a scene. Like, I understand that it's supposed to show that everyone is affected by Abuela and the toxic family structure, but if I don't care about any of the characters or their suffering because this movie doesn't give me enough to work with, a simple sentence, people are affected negatively because of this, would be equally as effective and less time consuming if I'm being honest. Okay, time to get to the big problem. The big problem is obviously Abuela. Abuela sucks. Abuela is the worst. Abuela is a beast. A beast! How dare you? This is a movie that tries to talk about generational trauma, but I just don't think that it packs a punch. I couldn't help but feel fucking Carrie Bradshaw. I couldn't help but feel cynical about the unrealistic finale that just makes the toxic Abuela change her mind and say sorry, because with the knowledge that Disney has never made a blood-related parental figure of the main character be the main villain, an uncomfortable idea came to me. Disney, no matter how many people of color they include in this movie, or how many different perspectives they try to uplift, or how much creative control they give Lin-Manuel Miranda, will never call into question the people paying for children to watch their movies. It's sort of the same problem that I had watching Strange World. It all feels so plasticky and fake, and it doesn't feel real or embodied, which is proven by the fact that they aren't making Strange World or Encanto in this political climate. They will never point the finger at the parents in any real way. They'll never allow the children watching them to imagine a world where they emancipate themselves or cut contact with toxic family members unless the family members aren't blood related and inserted themselves into their family with bad intentions from the get-go. Triton was the closest we have ever gotten to a downright antagonistic parental figure, and the drama that results from it is poignant and important and raw, but even he gets a redemption and he meant well, pat on the back. The same goes for Chicken Little's dad and Pocahontas's dad. Also in Frozen 2, we find out that Elsa and Anna's grandpa was actually really shady, but he's dead before the first movie even starts, so yeah, not really moving. So what happens when a family film wants to talk about the struggles of being in a large family with a matriarch who uses control and shame to keep her offspring in line, but that can fundamentally never actually dismantle the power structure? It forces the characters to no longer be humans. No one is a bad guy, no one is a villain. Every single character becomes a husk that bends to the will of the poorly executed plot to teach its audience of small children that it is important to hug your sister and talk about what's really bothering you, but you don't need to think about what to do if those methods aren't effective in solving your generational trauma, which, let's be real, they won't be. Because in this version of reality, it won't ever have to get to that point. And maybe there's something comforting in that for some people, but to me, it's deeply sad. Even in the climax, the culmination of years of pent-up frustration, the only thing Mirabel can do is still try to right a wrong that was never her fault to begin with. The desperation is real and felt, but not treated how it should be. Mirabel never once questions whether or not she needs to get away from her family. Even Bruno stays in the house because family is what's important, even when they suffocate you and abuse you. It's so depressing. And I don't think Disney needs to make movies about cutting family off, but then they shouldn't craft narratives that plead for those outcomes. How would the movie treat Abuela if she wasn't related to the rest of them? Maybe she'd still get a redemption, but my God, she would also get a much-deserved whacking from Mirabel's mother or Mirabel herself. Instead, the audience is left with this band-aid on an open wound. Abuela changed her mind. Everything is fine. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh on this movie because it didn't connect with me. Maybe Disney doesn't need to take a stance. Maybe it wasn't even the executives making this decision. Maybe it was the artists and the writers, but I don't know. Number 50.
Oh, you're so boring!
The Black Cauldron might be the darkest Disney movie ever made. It's almost a little bit mystical and has a sort of not Lord of the Rings. Well, maybe a little bit of a Lord of the Rings quality, especially because there is a Gollum variant in this movie. I was gonna say it's got a Legend of Zelda vibe to it. And as a Legend of Zelda fan, I did kind of appreciate this movie's aesthetic and tone. Unfortunately, it's not one of the more well-written Disney movies. The dialogue is kind of clunky, and the character acting is not great. The main character, Tehran, also low-key sucks. He's just absolutely unfair to the female love interest, Eilonwy. I thought that they were gonna be cute when I first started watching the movie, but they get into this awkward, bad, poorly written argument that just makes Tehran look like the biggest jerk ever. Really, this movie could have been something great, I think, if it wasn't so all over the place. And I bet that it has something to do with the fact that the story is actually based off of a book series rather than a fairy tale. It's a strange movie, and it really does feel like it's very much of its time, which is unfortunate because I would want to see a Disney movie with this vibe just done justice. I kind of would recommend watching it because it's just such a unique viewing experience, especially when it comes to Disney movies. I've never seen anything like it, and I've never seen anything since or before that's really captured the same aesthetic. But yeah, there's a reason why it's this low on the list. 51.
This is more than I could have ever dreamed.
Maybe it's kind of controversial that Wish is this high up. I did not hate this movie. Other than the animation, the dialogue, and the music, which now that I'm saying it out loud, those are pretty big categories, especially in an animated musical. But other than those three things, I kind of messed with this movie. Like, I don't know. The singing from Mr. Pine was not it. I feel like a lot of the songs were out of place and the lyrics didn't always connect specifically to the situations that the characters were in. They felt too bland or too broad. There were some songs I wish could have been swapped out for Wish. There are some songs I wish could have been swapped out for different songs. I just think the music is clearly the weakest part of the movie, but people have already talked about that a lot. Oh, and oftentimes the dialogue was just explaining everything that was happening in the most literal way possible. Here's the thing though, if the dialogue and the music was better, this would have been a pretty good movie. And imagine if it was actually 2D animated. The conflict was kind of good actually. I think the conflict is interesting because, yeah, we obviously can't be handing out dreams all willy-nilly.
We're giving out the powers willy-nilly.
But then that doesn't mean you strip people of choice, right? So it becomes more of a thing about control for the king rather than kind consideration. And I was so grateful that we got to see an actual villain, an actual evil person in a Disney movie again. It's been so long. And while I think Magnifico isn't the most iconic Disney villain ever, he definitely does stand out in a good way when you compare him to the other villains that have come from Disney the past like 5 years, I want to say. I do think it would have been more iconic if the queen and the king were evil. I would have also appreciated a romance between the star and Asha. I mean, there are a lot of things that the movie could have done better. I just think that like the people who make it out to be this stupid conflict, I kind of don't agree at all. It bears a heavy burden due to the fact that it is the 100-year anniversary movie that Disney made. And while I don't think that it lives up to Disney's legacy in the slightest, I also think that that doesn't make it a horrible movie either, right? And for what it's worth, I think the messaging of the film was done pretty well. I know I might be alone on that, but that's just how I feel, okay? And this is my ranking. So, moving on. Number 50.
Snap, kid. I'm an expert at these things.
I don't have much to say about this movie, and I think it's because I'm not really a big fan of the main group of characters. I'm usually hooked by characters and stories. Like, a plot is needed and it needs to be good, but if the characters aren't worth getting invested in, then I don't really end up caring about the plot. And I think that's kind of what happened in this movie. It's fine. The execution is fine, but I don't care about this cat. And I kind of don't care about this girl. I kind of don't care about these dogs. I do like Georgette. I liked Georgette and I liked the villains. The villains were fun. I feel kind of bad when I don't have that much to say about movies, but also I do realize that if I talk extensively about every single movie, this video will be 8 hours long, so... Oh, and look, it's Jock from Lady and the Tramp. Cute. Number 49.
We jumped out a window.
No!
This movie aged poorly to me.
Amateur to you girl, because you're a mean girl. Amateur. You're a mean girl.
I'm sorry, it's just the dialogue in this movie might be the worst dialogue in any Disney movie. You know, in a way, it might be nice to have the characters always saying exactly what they're thinking, but in my opinion, it also makes for a less interesting viewing experience because it's like you don't ever feel any sort of suspense. The exposition through dialogue is so on the nose and so obvious.
Oh, what would Mom and Dad say?
They're gone. They died when I was 3, remember?
I'm on a roll, big brother. You went in high school when you were 13, and this is what you do.
I love the idea of San Francisco. Like, design-wise, it's beautiful. It's stunning. Baymax is that girl. Like, she is exactly, well, he is. His ego is out of this world. Baymax Fingerheart. It's just rushed and weirdly paced, and it really undercuts the core of the movie, which is supposed to be the relationship between Hiro and Tadashi. It doesn't hit on any level in my opinion, and I don't think it's just because my heart is made of stone, okay? The further up in the list, it will be clear that I cry very easily, and I love to cry, I love to feel, but you can't introduce an older brother by saying, "Hi, big brother." I swear this movie thinks I'm stupid and I don't have any emotional intelligence. I also take issue with a superhero movie with a superhero group where it's shown clearly that they have poor teamwork to the point of screwing up a mission that they had and then making it not a point to actually get them to work seamlessly in the final fight. Even in the final fight, they're just losing until Hiro is like, "Guys, think differently than you normally do." And everyone else is like, "Oh, now I know what to do because I'm thinking outside the box because he told me to think outside the box." Oh my god. Number 48.
never hurt anyone.
I'm gonna keep this very short because this movie made me very uncomfortable, I swear. Nick and Judy were not giving off these vibes in the first movie. Like, they were at least not this strong. Sure, there were jokes and banter, and there was that one funny nudist animal moment, but it's like every single shot between these two characters in this movie was filled with sexual tension. Like, am I crazy? Every single shot of Nick Wilde felt like an attempt at Bluetooth impregnation. Please leave me alone. There was also, like, at the end, a long ass scene where Judy is just laying on the ground, ass up and face down. Like, I get it, she's paralyzed, right? But why are we lingering on this shot for so long? Why is she laying in that position? Why did they do that? I'm so freaking scared right now. Number 47.
Oh, yeah. Water has memory.
So with the success of Frozen 1, it's obvious that Disney needed to make a second Frozen. My thing is, this movie could have been really, really good if there was any sort of direction at any point in the process. If you haven't watched it, there is this documentary series that Disney put out where you can see the process behind making Frozen 2, and it does not paint a pretty picture, to say the least. I don't think the writers or the musicians or the animators or anyone for that matter really had any idea where they were going while they were making this movie. And I think it shows, unfortunately. And it's a shame because there are some really good building blocks here. It also has like a really cool scene, which was, I think it was the teaser trailer, I think, where Elsa is running and fighting the ocean. That's an awesome scene. I love that scene. Too bad it's not a scene in a good movie. So you kind of forget about it because it's, oh yeah, I don't know. It's fine. The movie is fine. The movie is fine. It's just very all over the place. It doesn't know what it wants. It's like, it has a really good soundtrack. It has a really good soundtrack. Like, the songs almost make it worth it. I just feel bad that why wouldn't they, like, that's the thing, why wouldn't they give them more time to figure out how to follow up Frozen 1, their biggest movie ever? I don't know. It's confusing to me. It's so interesting because you'll have one scene that's just the most here damn ass proposal in the world, but then another scene which is Lost in the Woods. I don't know what to make of this because you give me one horrible scene of Olaf explaining the entire plot of Frozen 1, and then you give me Lost in the Woods. And then you give me one scene where you introduce random Northuldra characters that don't have any bearing on the plot, but then you give me Lost in the Woods. Like, I don't, realistically, what am I supposed to say about this movie? I can't say anything because it's like, for every bad scene or awkward piece of dialogue or clunky world building aspect, there is a second of the song Lost in the Woods. And that is really powerful. Like, Lost in the Woods, I didn't know that was happening. That is really powerful. 46.
Up next, Chicken Little.
I was not excited when I got to Chicken Little as I was watching every single movie in chronological order. But dare I say, this movie is ... good? Like, Chicken Little is adorable. That is a cute little character. It's kind of Zootopia before Zootopia existed. It's got a really funny sense of humor in my opinion. And it's just kind of a delightful movie. Like, I don't know. Chicken Little, #good. Chicken Little, #misunderstood. Chicken Little, #shoulders should match them hips. And the relationship between Chicken Little and his dad is heartfelt. Like, I did feel something. It did warm my heart when the father and son finally bonded. Like, to me, that was really, it worked. I don't know, it's a movie that works. It's not revolutionary, but it works. So, for everyone who's hating on it, you're wrong. Number 45.
I don't know, I think he's hiding something.
Well, if he's hiding something, I want to know what it is.
You can tell the animators really loved animating Helga. Just a girl in her braid against the world. It's okay to admit that this movie is a little bit messy. I think we spend entirely too much time on the way to Atlantis and too little time in Atlantis. There could have been a good montage of collecting the crew, because at the start, it kind of gives, I don't know who these people are. I don't know why I'm supposed to care. Who are you? There's this accident that happens on the journey where they lose a bunch of nameless side characters, and I don't care because we don't spend a single second with them. And the characters that we do spend time with, it's not that they're not charming and not interesting, I just wish that there was more depth to their characters. And not just this kind of, I don't want to say that it's easy to do it, but It feels a little bit lackluster in its presentation. Like, we just get all of their backstories at the same time, all of their introductions at the same time. It would have been nice to maybe introduce them one by one, or to like have them each bond with Milo, not just one after the other, but interweave it with the plot rather than all of the development happening separate from the plot and all of the plot happening separate from the character journeys. It just feels like everything has to happen one step at a time rather than taking all of the things into account while creating a scene. That's why it feels like the journey to Atlantis is way longer than it needs to be, in my opinion, because the movie doesn't really multitask. Multitask. I don't know. If you couldn't tell already, I just like ensemble cast where it feels like the characters each have 2 character traits and a backstory, and then we don't spend any more time thinking about what purpose they need to fulfill. All of these side characters have one thing that they're good at, and that's kind of what they do in the movie. But what else? What else? We get a backstory, a couple of moments where they talk to Milo and he's kind of weirded out by them. There's a crew because you've got to have a crew, and the crew is like family in the end because of all the great times together. And in the end, they do what's right because of the speech Milo gives. It's okay. Like, I don't want to say that it's bad or poorly written. It's just not groundbreaking in my opinion. I also think Tiberius, while being an okay villain, kind of gives knockoff Clayton from Tarzan, which is interesting to me because Kida and Milo are also kind of Tarzan and Jane gender swapped and a little bit less interesting, if I can say so myself. The comedic timing is also kind of off in this movie, but it is true that it's inventive and interesting, and there is something here, right? There are character beats and there are character moments. I just don't think that they land as well as other people might think because of the pacing. 44.
I'm a fox. My name's Todd. What's your name, kid? Mine's Copper. I'm a hound dog.
I'm pretty sure this movie documented the very first instance of a fox incel.
You're a silly, empty-headed female.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I really need to say that Copper's voice in this movie when he's a little puppy is one of the cutest things I have ever heard. Shout out to the voice actor Corey Feldman, you ate that. However, I have to say that that is probably the cutest thing to me about this movie. The relationship between Copper and Todd, while being cute, I don't really feel as if this is a friendship for the ages as I'm watching it. I don't know, maybe it's because I've worked with children, but if you put 2 children together on a playground, they're gonna have fun regardless. So it's not that I don't believe that they're best friends and that this is heartbreaking if you watch it as a child. It's not been a Disney movie that really has stuck with me throughout my childhood, but I could imagine that it easily could have. And so I don't have that many negative things to say about this movie, but it's not one of my favorites. Simple as that. 43.
You're the very animals I was coming to see.
Remember like 40 minutes ago when I was talking a bunch about those animated featurettes that Disney was releasing in the 40s? And remember how I was talking about the fact that I kind of didn't like any of them? This one's the exception. This anthology film blows the other ones out of the water, both animation-wise and story-wise. The first story is about Mr. Toad, who is a certified lunatic. He's kind of problematic, but he is unjustly canceled in this movie and he needs the help of his friends. Shout out to Mr. Mole, adorable little creature. And it's basically like a prison break movie, which is kind of awesome actually. The second one is about the sexy, alluring, charming Ichabod, who's new to town and here to swoop up all the ladies. And it's basically about this weird rivalry that he has going on with the town jock, Brom. And it ends with, I think, Brom dressing up as a headless horse-riding murderer to scare him out of town. It's good. Like, it's fun. I had fun. Number 42.
How marvelous! How perfectly! Oh.
The economic stress that I feel watching this movie. First of all, Cruella de Vil is crazy because all of that effort for 6 coats. And then in the end, like, they adopt 100, they have 101 Dalmatians. They'll never afford that, bro. Like, I don't know what this movie is smoking. This is almost like, it's almost offensive to me how little this movie thinks about practicality at all. I realize due to how iconic this film is, many would probably take issue with how low the movie is on my list, but I don't know. I've always been more of a cat person. What can I say? Oh, Jock mention. Number 41.
He's so handsome. I especially love the smile.
Listen, the animation is gorgeous. You know, you don't need to look at Pocahontas' hair for more than 2 seconds to realize that. This movie is beautiful. This movie is very beautiful. Colors of the Wind is really amazing. Holding space with the lyrics of Colors of the Wind. The problem with this movie is John Smith. Can I say that? I think I can say that. I don't think that would be controversial of me to say. John Smith is just kind of the worst. He is, to me, top 2 ugliest Disney prince, and he's with Pocahontas with the best hair on earth. Actually, I don't know if she has the best hair on earth, but it is like, her hair is amazing. The animation that they did on whoever directed her hair, props to them. It's just, everything about this movie kind of hinges on their romance. I'm not going to get into the historical implications of this film. You know, I'm talking about its merits as a movie. The whole movie kind of hinges on their romance, and it does not do it for me in the slightest. I could do without the romance, honestly. And that's not even me saying, oh, she should have gotten with her best friend, or she should have gone with Coco. I didn't love the romance, which is kind of weird because there's not really much else going on in this movie. So yeah, but I liked everything else though. I kind of liked everything else. Well, no, that's not true. But I love Pocahontas. There, I'll say that. I love whatever they did with Pocahontas. She's a great character. Historical inaccuracies aside. 40!
But how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
Revisiting Alice in Wonderland, doesn't Alice sort of give the straight version of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz? In the sense that, I know this movie is a classic, so maybe it's actually kind of blasphemous that I have it so low on my list. While I do think that The Wonderland was well executed, and I do applaud the movie for going all out in its whimsical presentation of this nonsensical land, I have to say it's probably a personal preference thing. I have a hard time really getting invested in stories where everything in it is supposed to kind of make you uncomfortable or annoyed or frustrated. There are very few characters in this movie that actually give me some reprieve from the constant overwhelming nature of whatever's going on here. I don't like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I hate them. They've always made me so uncomfortable. The caterpillar is unpleasant too. The rabbit is, I think, the only character besides Alice who is actually bearable in Wonderland. And I think that's also the point, which, okay, this movie's message is kind of crazy, right? Like, the whole point of it is that children should not be daydreaming and thinking of nonsense. Fun is over. So the way the story is set up, Alice starts the story wanting nonsense, wanting whimsy, wanting something to be different and not like how it is in the real world, where things make sense and things are too logical. And as the story progresses, Alice gets exactly what she wants. She gets to go to Wonderland, a place where nothing makes sense and everything is nonsensical. And it's fun at first, but it's also really scary and unpleasant and confusing. One of the only activities she's okay with doing here, with no question about it, is the activity of painting roses. And I actually have a small theory about this, and I think it's because she's painting the roses from white to the stereotypical and normative red. She understands this activity because finally things make sense. And I think this also kind of awakens some parallels between the Red Queen and Alice. There's a lot of good stuff in this movie. Like, I think it's really interesting and it's well written and there's a lot to dig into. I just can't get over the fact that it's a deeply unpleasant experience to watch this movie for me. Again, I don't know how much of it has to do with just like me being scared of Tweedledee and Tweedledum as a kid and it's still sitting in me, but I don't have a problem with stories that frighten me, or like I don't think that that's something that necessarily makes a movie hard for me to watch. There's just something about the energy of Wonderland that's so deeply disturbing, and I think it's because of the underlying kind of conservative messaging of the film that kind of shames Alice for ever wanting fun and whimsy. This is the world you wanted, Alice, and aren't you ashamed for ever wanting it? Don't you feel stupid for wanting things to be whimsical? Don't you feel stupid for daydreaming? It's kind of scary. The juxtaposition from this like quintessential 50s messaging about law and order to the quintessential 2010s be yourself individualism of the live action movie by Tim Burton is kind of blowing my mind as well. 39.
Long live King Richard! Long live King
I really need to speed this up. I have 3 things to say. 1, the turtle with the glasses, devastatingly adorable. Love him. I really liked what they did with the villain, that they gave him a more logical and calculating henchman, and then he gets to be the bumbling fool when usually it's the other way around, right? Like the villain has hench people who are just like comic relief and stupid. In this movie, it gets to be the other way around, which is a nice change of pace in my opinion. And 3rd, I really like the way this movie does character designs. I think especially the costuming for Marianne is really beautiful. I love the shawl over her ears. 38.
Ha ha! We've done it, old fellow!
Fun fact, this is the first time we see the Walt Disney logo intro. I thought this movie was really cute. The mystery element and world building sadly did not hook me, but the characters were delightful. Obviously based on Sherlock, Basil was a fun character. I also really loved Ratigan, the main villain of the story, and Olivia was such a cutie patootie. Look at her little outfit. Oh, look at her go. 37.
The map, if you please.
This movie kind of has some of the Arcane Season 2 musical montage nachos. And it went to the Atlantis school of killing off characters with no impact. What? Who said that? That was so crazy. No, I do think that there are a lot of good things about this movie. Like the relationship between Jim and Long John Silver is very well executed. I just think that it struggles a little bit because the rest of the story is just kind of okay. It's nothing to write home about. And I think if it wasn't for Jim and Long John Silver, there really wouldn't be much of note in this movie. Maybe I'm just saying that because, I don't know, space pirates isn't my thing. I never watched Cowboy Bebop, I'm sorry. I did watch RuPaul's Drag Race though.
Sorry about that. I didn't make...
Fart humor, yeah? Yeah.
36.
Have you been approached by a tall man in a bowler hat?
The biggest problem with this movie is that it is a time travel movie and rarely does that actually work. Because if Goob goes back in time to catch the ball, then that would mean that nothing actually happens. Everything would change, and then the thing that happened wouldn't happen, and then the movie wouldn't exist. Time travel almost never makes sense. The main characters are fine enough, they're okay, but the real star is obviously the bad guy, Goob. He is awesome. He slays so much. Like, this is peak comedic writing for a villain. He is fantastic. 35.
Honey. Pooh?
Zooey Deschanel is in the soundtrack for this movie for some reason. Kind of obsessed, actually. I love Winnie the Pooh. I'm obsessed with him. He is the world's cutest honey addict. There's just no one like him. Really, anything with Winnie the Pooh is immediately gonna make me happy. So, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie... 34.
And he will be dead before dessert.
Which is a real shame, because it's gonna be delicious.
This is kind of actually a star-studded cast. Cusco, Yzma, Kronk. Right. I was kind of surprised by how little I was laughing when I watched this movie. Yzma and Kronk were hilarious, of course, but a lot of the Cusco jokes felt like, so this just happened. Actually, my biggest question about this movie was why the strange homosexual romantic tension between the teenage llama and the middle-aged sweet man with a wife and kids. That part was confusing to me. 33.
Come on, darling. Let's get a move out.
Dude, the opening sequence of this movie is crazy. I think you should watch it just for that. You know when you're watching Spider-Man on the big screen for the first time and you see him swinging around and you literally feel like this is what life is about, you know? You feel the adrenaline pumping. It's like you are Spider-Man in that moment. That is what I would compare this scene to. Like, it was crazy. I was not expecting it when I started watching this movie. Like, it actually geeked me. The rest of the movie is good. It's fine. Nothing to write home about, really. I enjoyed seeing Bernard and Bianca again. I also really liked Joanna as a character. She was kind of an abuse victim, actually. It was kind of horrible to see. The whole B plot is just kind of about Wilbur getting tortured, so depending on how you feel about that, this movie might be better or worse, you know? All in all, cute. 32.
This is my canoe, and you will journey to the...
Dude, think of the future chieftains who can't place their stones on top of this tower, all because Moana wanted to be unique. What of your legacy now, Moana? There's a lot of the self in this movie. thematically and character-wise, which I think ties Maui, Moana, and Te Fiti together, but I would have liked it for Moana to be a little bit more tied to the main conflict. Or rather, I think the revelation that Te Kā was Te Fiti is sort of wasted on this story. It is so good when Moana asks the sea to part and we find out that Te Kā was Te Fiti all along. It's a phenomenal scene. But man, I'm just not connected to Te Kā or Te Fiti. I think we're supposed to feel connected to Moana and therefore by proxy feel connected to Te Fiti, but everything about Moana feels like a watered-down version of a previous princess. Her relationship with her father is a watered-down version of Ariel's relationship to hers. Think of how devastating the scene where Triton destroys Ariel's statue is. I'm not moved by Moana in the first part of this movie in the same way. She's not particularly raw or vulnerable, and I don't need her father to be horrible to feel that, but I need something. Her personality is kind of a watered-down version of Anna and Rapunzel's personalities. Two girls who were written to be socially awkward and a little eccentric due to their lack of socialization. Something that Moana should not struggle with at all. Her struggle about who she is in relation to her family and ancestors is also a watered-down version of Mulan's struggles, and with Mulan it feels guttural because she can't do what she's supposed to do, while Moana is good at everything, it seems. And her powers are literally a watered-down version of Elsa's ice magic. And yet, even with all of these quirks and all of that spirit, she somehow ends up feeling a little bit shallow. Think of how Elsa's relationship to her powers evolves and changes for good and bad throughout the film, and compare it to how Moana's biggest dramatic moment is her quietly asking the water to find someone else. It doesn't feel like their relationship grows or changes. The water is ever the same to Moana, and she responds in kind. Situationally, she treats the water differently, one moment yelling at it, the next high-fiving it, but imagine Moana asking the water to find another in this moment, and having it actually be soul-crushing. Not just because Moana has given up on herself, but because she's severing her tie to who she is. And I know that this is sort of what this scene is meant to portray, and I do get chills when she sings her name and dives into the water to retrieve the heart. But for how great this moment is, the rest of the story doesn't uplift it to its full potential. I could very well see a version of this movie where I'm bawling here. Instead, this moment comes and goes, and the same goes for the final meeting with Te Kā. Such a phenomenal scene. But a phenomenal scene in a good movie will always just be a phenomenal scene. But a phenomenal scene in a great movie will make the entire film phenomenal. So if you'll indulge me, here are some changes that I think could help with what I'm talking about. What if her father was the one who saved her when she tried to sail away for the first time? What if she actually was made to feel small and stupid for more than just 1 second? I think because Moana just casually gets all the information that she needs from her grandmother, getting the heart again doesn't feel as cathartic as it could have if she got it for herself or if the water gave it to her. I think instead of the grandmother just casually being there when Moana was chosen, it would be nice if Moana initiated a conversation with her grandmother to show how she's not afraid of going against what her father says anymore. If we see the ocean taking back the heart when Moana gets dragged away as a toddler, the first conflict before Moana ever reaches Maui becomes clear. If the ocean is the one to give her the heart of Te Fiti, it will be giving her another chance because she took a risk and followed her heart when she took out to sea, defying her father, instead of the grandmother just keeping this stone from her for years. Moana belongs to the ocean, just like Te Fiti's heart belongs to Te Fiti. I like how the ocean can't give Te Kā the heart because she can't touch it, and I think the movie had the possibility of doing a little more with this specific gimmick too. Once Maui comes back, the only conflict that's left is the practical one, and while it's okay that the emotional conflicts get resolved before the practical one, I do think this movie had the potential of having its cake and eating it too. In the I am Moana moment, that is when Moana really learns who she is. I just think it would be great if the movie made the implicit explicit when it came to the other way around, when Moana really learns who the ocean is, or what the ocean is, or, what it can do. I think even the songs that Moana sings in this part of the movie do most of the heavy lifting. The melodies are the same, it's even about the same thing. It's just that one is Moana singing about herself, and the second one is her singing to Te Kā. The line, "They have stolen the heart from inside you, but this does not define you," is not just about Te Kā, it's about Moana. They, the people in her village, her father, stole Moana away from the ocean. Why couldn't she be looking at the water as she's singing this line? Maybe even looking at the water splashing onto Taka, understanding why she has to be the bridge between them. While I do think the slow-mo Moses walk is effective, in my La La Land version of this scene, in my La 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 Land in my La La Land version of this scene, she would start singing the second she sees the spiral into Ka. And after this line, where she finally sees the big picture, why the ocean couldn't do this job on its own, that is when she says, "Let her come to me." If the whole movie showed how the ocean never listens to Moana and she talked about it, why do you never do what I ask you to? Why can't you just listen? It wouldn't feel as random when the ocean helps her and when it doesn't. Imagine if Moana asked the ocean to just deliver the heart on its own over and over again in the movie, even in the final battle. Then Moana telling the ocean to let Te Kā come to her and the ocean listening would be way more poignant. It would be the first time Moana and the sea are fully in symbiosis. They have stolen the heart from inside you, do 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 do. But this does not define you. Let her come to me. This is not who you are. You know who you are. Does that make sense? Like, am I painting the picture? I hope I'm painting the picture. I do think, unlike a lot of other Disney movies that end up being just okay or good enough, Moana is a film that had the potential to be a top 10 Disney movie of all time. That's why I've been talking about it for so long. I hope that my passion here doesn't come off as hatred for the way the actual movie played out, because it is still a good movie. And I do think that its foundation is so strong that it makes me kind of yearn for more. So if anything, that's like a good thing, right? Good job. Number 31.
He says we'll walk the plank if we don't.
Oh, no, we won't.
The irony of gay hand-holding being too sexual for Disney, but then this whole movie just being one long, gratuitous shot of Tinkerbell's ass is really something. This movie is really well constructed. I really love the children. Michael is so adorable. Wendy is really charming. The problem with this movie, it's not really a problem actually, but this is a well-constructed movie that just happens to have the worst main character of all time. I hate Peter Pan. Always have, always will. He's an ugly, horrible little boy, and he better watch his mouth because he's so mean. When I was younger, I really loved these mermaids, and even watching it as an adult, I do think that they're cute and their designs are really adorable. I just think that these birds are really crazy trying to drown Wendy for Peter Pan. They look like fools. Keep up the homicidal tendencies though, girls. Like, that's really gonna serve you in the long run. Number 30.
A puppet. You know, one of those marionette things.
Watching this movie as a Figaro lover, it was kind of hard actually. It hurt my feelings a little bit. Like, why is Geppetto kind of mean to him? This movie really gave me the heebie-jeebies as a kid, like you wouldn't believe. Especially the sequence with the donkeys, that was always the thing that made me the most scared. Just seeing these boys turn into donkeys, writhing in agony, screaming out for their moms, like, whoa, what the hell? I really think it's quite impressive that they were able to make such a terrifying sequence and put it to screen and sell it to children. And horror is a genre that children don't really have a reason to interact with before the age of, like, I don't know, 10. So I can only imagine the amount of children where they watch this and it's literally the scariest thing they've ever seen. So I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing. I want to say it's a good thing. Also, a couple of years ago, I watched this video by, I think, There Will Be Fud, and it talked about the fact that this is one of the only Disney movies where none of the bad guys get their comeuppance, and that really, like, terrified me to my soul, even as an adult. Number 29.
Hello, and welcome to Fantasia 2000.
Come on, rerun. I don't know if this is like a hot take or like a crazy opinion, but I really like the Fantasia movies. I really like Fantasia 2000. I think it has a thematic through line, unlike a lot of the featurettes from the wartime period. I think there's also more effort put into the short stories. They just kind of flow together better. The music really ties it all together, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just a bit of fun. I also love the idea of introducing the new millennium with Disney with a Fantasia movie. Number 28.
Doug thinks this is all real?
Okay, so going into this movie, my expectations were kind of in the gutter, and they low-key got flipped completely. Flip it around, wicked witch. Sorry. We literally go from 0 to 100 in the first, like, 10 seconds of the movie. The vibes are unhinged, and I hate to say it, but I kind of live for it. I really do live for it. The fact that Miley Cyrus is also in this movie is kind of interesting to me. Like, it, along with basically everything about this movie, aggressively places it in the mid-2000s. I didn't know that a dog version of The Truman Show would hit this hard, but it really does. Like, the action scenes are crazy as well. I think the humor is kind of on point, which I wouldn't expect, because I'm not the biggest fan of whatever happened to the animated comedy world post-Shrek. I find the pigeons funny. I strangely enough don't think that the core relationship between Penny and Bolt is trite or bad. I think it actually kind of works. Number 27.
It's called a hustle, sweetheart.
So the thing I wanted to talk about the most when it comes to this movie is the shot where we see a bunch of bootleg Disney animal versions of previous movies, and they teased the movie Gigantic with this movie called Giraffic, and I just think we need to unpack that. Like, that is Disney lost media. I think the biggest selling point of this movie is obviously Judy and Nick's unquestionable chemistry. Whether you want to look at it through a romantic perspective, friendship perspective, coworker perspective, I think they do a great job of carrying this movie. However, all of that pales in comparison to the best scene of the movie, which is obviously Mr. Big doing his reenactment of the opening scene to Godfather. This movie also has the quintessential must be a joke every single second of the movie thing going on. I think it does work in this movie, however, because it's supposed to be this like fast-paced cop movie, and I don't think that they're really overdoing it yet, but it is definitely, it's a premonition of things to come in the future, to be sure. Number 26.
The next time we run into that hunter...
There is no we.
Did Disney have some sort of weird deal with Phil Collins? I do wonder why his voice is so prevalent in both Tarzan and this movie. Maybe he just felt inspired by interspecies brotherhoods. Aside from the whole turning into a bear because you were at the wrong place at the wrong time and you tried to kill a bear because the bear killed your brother after your brother tried to kill a bear. Other than that, this movie is very like straight to the point in my opinion. It's very by the books in my opinion, and I think it does the whole found family, because I knew you, I have been changed for good, very well. And I do love seeing Coda slowly start to wriggle his way into Kenai's heart. I think the movie does the whole thing very well. And I did get a little teary-eyed when the mammoth scene came up and Coda was talking about how he always wanted a brother. Number 25.
Since we've had Lady, we see less and less of those disturbing headlines.
Isn't it adorable that Lady calls her owners Jim Dear and Darling, because that's what they call each other? Ugh. I really like this movie. It's dog romance done well. Watch out, Pongo and Perdita. I'm kidding. They're cute too. I, in general, just find this movie very comforting and very adorable, but I want to say that probably the reason why it's this high up is due to the fact that it has the best character ever created in a Disney movie, and that is Jock. Look at him in this little jacket. He is everything. Number 24.
He's in trouble. I shouldn't have left him alone.
Shout out to the second cutest elephant in all of Disney history. You are so cute. You are everything. Also, can we talk about the fact that Baloo and Bagheera are kind of gay men finding the biological parents to their foster child vibes? Actually, Bagheera kind of is the MVP of this movie. He is one of a kind. He does the right thing over and over again. He has Mowgli's best interest at heart at all times, and he goes with him but doesn't coddle him on this journey. Number 23.
Is he gone?
All except the tail.
I really don't care if Winnie the Pooh is a burden to the community because he is too cute. Like, there is no one like you, Winnie the Pooh. You are so unique. You are so special. We love you, Winnie the Pooh, forever and always. Actually, maybe Euphoria Season 3 would have been better if Rue was played by Winnie the Pooh and the drug addiction was replaced with a honey addiction. Like, that would probably be more entertaining for me than whatever was going on in Season 3. Watching this movie also kind of makes me think about the poop conundrum. Like, can he poop? Or does the honey just evaporate in his belly? Or is this like a Harry Potter poop vanishing spell type of situation? If so, I would like to be updated. The ending of this movie really hit me like a truck. It's all of the characters waving goodbye to Christopher Robin as he's going on to the new phase in his life. And it evokes a feeling of nostalgia and a little bit of sadness too, because we have to say goodbye to these characters that most people, I think, have grown up with one way or another, right? And then I start to cry because it's like, damn, we'll wait for you, Christopher Robin, and we'll be here whenever you want. Like, oh my god, it's so sweet. Number 22.
E. Eternal damnation.
Good. F.
Festival.
Excuse me.
I think Quasimodo might be one of the most important protagonists in any Disney movie. Maybe that's a little dramatic. I just think that this movie's messaging is like beyond important, especially in the context of Disney, that regardless of whether or not it's due to fairy tale logic or character design shorthand, it does sort of send the message in a lot of its movies that ugly equals bad and beautiful equals good. And I do know that there are a lot of Disney movies that dispel this, but I do think that this is probably the most important movie that does that very thing. Lookism is very, very real, and I think the main question of this movie, who is the monster and who is the man, is so interesting and so layered, and I love what the movie does with this in regards to Quasimodo and Frollo. I do also appreciate the way Esmeralda and Phoebus play their roles. I think most of the things in this movie work very well. I know a lot of people take issue with the sidekick slapstick comedy route that this movie decided to go. I don't mind it that much. I don't think it's the funniest humor in any Disney movie, but I definitely don't think that it's as distracting as some people say it is. And really, the relationship between Esmeralda and Quasimodo works so well because you really do feel for Quasimodo, since Esmeralda is the first person to ever show him, the first time he's ever been shown real kindness by another human. It's actually really sweet and really beautiful, and I just love the message of this movie that it's also fine that Quasimodo doesn't get romantic love from Esmeralda because he's already learned so much about himself through their relationship, and he doesn't need romantic love or even love from another person anymore because he finally loves himself. I do think from a musical perspective, this is definitely one of Disney's weaker movies. I think other than Hellfire, which objectively is a really, really good song, and I would never hate on that song at all, I think the rest of the soundtrack it's fine. It's not anything to write home about, in my opinion. The coolest thing about this movie is that it's the first time Disney actually shows the most commonly insidious form that evil takes. Men who suffer from lustful delusions and make it everybody else's problem. Frollo is really kind of a one-of-a-kind Disney villain in that sense. He's not just some far-off evil monster who is beyond human comprehension. He is very, very human. And that is, I think, what makes him so terrifying. 21.
How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Well, some people use their imagination.
I have to start this off by saying that I am, in fact, a Belle hater. I'm also a Beast hater. Belle, to me, is a bottom 3 Disney princess. The Beast is also a bottom 3 Disney prince, and he's definitely not number 3, and he's definitely not number 2. Gaston, on the other hand, is fabulous. He's an amazing villain. He just has bad taste in women, all shade. I want to give a shout out to the 3 blondes who, for some reason, are not considered to be the prettiest girls in town. My favorite one is the red one. Oh, no, sorry. I mean, the green one. Oh wait, no, she's back to red. They really couldn't keep their colors consistent, could they? I love this movie because the soundtrack is amazing, the animation is great. I mean, James Baxter did his big one, and the plot progression is really interesting. I like everything about this movie except for the fact that Belle and the Beast peeve me for various reasons. I hate to be like the BuzzFeed feminist over here and be like, this movie is about Stockholm Syndrome, because I don't think it's literally Stockholm Syndrome. But this movie does want you to feel bad for a kidnapper. Like, it does want you to think that Beast is better than Gaston. But Gaston, yeah, he's a violent chauvinist, definitely not a good person. But the Beast is a kidnapper. Like, he is a violent, scary man who lashes out and kidnaps people. Like, it also kind of bugs me that the Beast is never shown to be kind towards any of his servants either. Like, it feels to me as if he really doesn't give a fuck about being a good person. He just wants Belle to be happy with him, and that's Ick City for me. But then I also know that a lot of people think that this movie is amazing and this is the greatest love story ever told, and you know, that's probably true for some people. I'm not some people, though. This is not the most amazing love story ever told. It's kind of actually really worst case scenario vibes for me, but you know, again, like, I still like this movie. This movie does like most things right, except for the execution of the message, which, I mean, does feel like a pretty big deal, but also it's like Beauty and the Beast. It's a good movie. Like, I don't... Number 20.
I'm bad.
That's good!
See, Wreck-It Ralph I thought was gonna be like a shoo-in for the top 10, but rewatching it, it kind of aged more poorly than I expected in the humor department. But man, you can't deny that Vanellope and Ralph's relationship really makes this movie. It's so great. Number 19.
You know, it's funny how wrong an artist can be about his own work.
Oh, Fantasia, you are that girl. I'm not gonna talk very much about this movie because I don't think I have many smart things to say other than yay music and yay animation. Like, if I were to rank the sequences, I would say in last place there's Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Next we have Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring, then Schubert's Ave Maria, then Dukas' The Sorcerer's Apprentice, then Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 Pastoral, then Mussorgsky's Night on the Bear Mountain, then Tchaikovsky's The Nutcracker, and obviously my favorite one is Ponchielli's Dance of the Hours, because that hippo, wow, the power she holds. 18. This movie does what my favorite coming-of-age stories do, where a lot of this movie is just random scenes of Bambi and his friends doing stuff. Dare I say it's kind of giving slice of life anime. And aren't we glad? Like, let us be glad, let us be grateful. Because Bambi is a coming-of-age story. And so I think it's very fitting that the whole movie is just a bunch of scenes where we slowly see Bambi growing up. And then when you get to the end, you realize that we've just seen Bambi go from being a newborn to being the king of the forest. 17.
All aboard!
All aboard! Dude, if you don't like this movie, I think you might be a sociopath. Dumbo might be the cutest. Yeah, Dumbo's probably the cutest thing that Disney has ever created. The way he holds the mouse's tail because he can't hold his mother's, and then oh my god, the scene where the mother holds him and sings him a lullaby because he just misses her. Oh my god, this movie is crazy. Like, ooh. Number 16.
I'm here. What? But Mama, I had to.
None of your excuses.
Before we unpack anything else, we just need to talk about the fact that Lea Salonga, her performance in Reflection is one for the ages. Wow. Also, hi, this is me editing. I just had a quick thought that I wanted to mention. Remember when I was talking about the Atlantis death scene and how there were so many on their crew on the way to Atlantis who died in the action sequence? I think this movie actually does what I think Atlantis wanted to do with that scene, but it does it flawlessly, and arguably under more difficult circumstances, because at least in Atlantis, we should theoretically have a closer connection to the people in the crew because we've spent all this time on this trip surrounded by these people, but when they die, I feel nothing. And maybe it's because I'm heartless, but also when you watch the scene where you go from a fun, lighthearted musical sequence of the soldiers singing about a girl worth fighting for, and then it gets interrupted by seeing a massacre where, of course, we have a connection, like a direct connection with Shang and his father being a part of the crew that was killed, right? The literal connection we have, we don't see the dad, we don't really know anything about him, and yet this moment is soul-crushing. And I think it's because of, first of all, the dissonance between the scene that we were just watching versus the brutality of war. Completely, like, it's a shock to the system, basically. And I think Mulan also does a better job at sort of instinctively giving the audience the thought of this could have been our group. This could have been the group of people that we just watched for a really long time. This could have been Mulan, who died here. It's this very sort of inherent understanding and empathy towards a group of people that we know nothing about other than the fact that Shang's father was the general, I think. It's not setting the scene up by making you expect something. It's doing the opposite. Like, it's setting the scene up by making you not expect anything. And then the brutality of war acts like a shock and then also a reminder of what the situation is. Meanwhile, in Atlantis, we just see a really, really long fight sequence, and then at the end of it, a lot of people die. And while that's cool, or like, it could have been really interesting, I think it's less effective because it doesn't utilize its characters to their full potential. Meanwhile, we don't even see any of these characters who have just died, and yet we already understand as viewers exactly what this means, and what this means for the characters, what this means for Shang, what this means for Mulan, what it means for the whole group of characters that we've just spent what is it, like 30 minutes getting to know. I also just love the way that we see Mulan go from being so unsure of her place in the world to understanding that there's something she can do here. She can actually help her dad and she can help her family in this way. And even though she knows that it's frowned upon, it's the only thing she knows how to do. And in doing so, she not only liberates herself from her parents' and ancestors' expectations of her, creating a mold that fits her better, she also saves the country. Number 15.
You must take your place in the circle of life.
How can I go back?
This is like one of the most majestic movies of all time. That opening alone secures this movie legendary status in my head. Like, even if it was horrible as a whole, which it's not, this movie is really solid. If it was really bad, I honestly still think that people would talk about this opening like, whoa, this is a great opening to a horrible movie. Also, much like Alice in Wonderland, this movie does have very conservative vibes with the concept that there is just a natural order and a way that things should just be. And it's a lot about like conserving the natural order of things. I think it's interesting. I don't think conservative messaging necessarily makes a movie bad either. Obviously, like this is number 15 on my list. I just think it's like also important that we notice these things. Conservatism isn't just US politics or like religion. Conservatism is the idea that there is something that we need to hold on to. And while I definitely don't agree that we should hold on to things just because they are tradition, I do think that it's possible to live yourself into this movie and act like there is a natural order of things and that we should just hope for things to go back to how they once were, right? It's like one of those things when you watch a movie, do you want to live yourself into the world and accept the movie on its own premises, or do you want to criticize the premises that are set up in the movie? And I think a lot of the time you actually can do both, and I definitely think this is one of those cases, because I do get like emotional when we see Simba take his dad's place as the rightful heir to the kingdom, right? But on the other hand, also, what does it mean for there to be a rightful heir to the kingdom? Number 14.
On this, her 16th birthday, the good fairies had planned a party.
I kind of think that this movie is one of the most interesting things that Disney has done artistically. You would think that it was just a copy of Cinderella and Snow White, the way people talk about it, but it's so unique in its execution. It doesn't really have a real main character, and the closest thing the movie has to main characters are these three old fairy ladies. Shout out to Merryweather, she's my favorite one. And it just has a really unconventional storytelling style that I don't think I could compare to anything I've ever seen. I do think it kind of captures the feeling of a fairy tale the best out of any of the Disney adaptations. It's so atmospheric. Disney finally managed to create a prince character that had a personality. I think Maleficent might be the coolest Disney villain ever created. Probably not my favorite, but the coolest. I mean, look at her, and she turns into a fucking dragon. Hello. Aurora, despite her limited screen time, which isn't even that crazy. I mean, this movie is already not that long. It's obviously on the lower end of Disney princess screen time, but what we do see of her, they really strike a lovely balance in Aurora's personality when it comes to her cheekiness and her naivete and kindness. She has that effortless grace, and you can feel that small hint of spunk. She's probably the most beautiful Disney princess design that Disney has ever done. I mean, look at her face card, look at her hair, look at her dress. Number 13.
She's got these eyes that just, and this hair, wow, and her smile.
I love, love, love the color scheme of this movie. And the character animation in this movie is fantastic as well. I would say my only critique is the fact that they had Jasmine kiss Jafar and then Aladdin does nothing as she's distracting him. It's like he had 10 seconds to grab this lamp and he's just standing around looking like a fool. Is he dumb? Number 12.
Had to be snow. She couldn't have had tropical magic.
So was I expecting Frozen to be this high up on the list? No. Was I expecting Frozen to be higher up than even some of the most iconic films from the Disney Renaissance period? No. And yet here we are. Despite whatever Olaf turned into for the second movie and literally any other material where he's included, Olaf is kind of actually iconic in this movie. I don't know why he doesn't annoy me at all. I don't have a skull. Maybe it's because he's annoying in the way I'm annoying in this movie instead of the way that, overstimulating Cocomelon TV is annoying. I also think Hans gets a little bit too much hate. I don't think that he actually is as poorly written a villain as people think he is. And there are many rumors about Hans not actually being a villain, but the truth is he was always conceived of as a villain, I'm pretty sure. I can't find any evidence that he wasn't conceived of as a villain in the writer's room. Maybe he's not as interesting of a villain as Elsa would have been as one, but I kind of like him. I don't think there's anything about him that really goes against his characterization as a money or power hungry person. You might be confused why he smiles at Anna like he's attracted to her, but I don't think him being power hungry negates him having real feelings for Anna either. Like, he could very well be attracted to this girl, find out that she's a princess, want to be with her because she's a princess, still be attracted to her. And the further along in the movie we get, the more crazy he becomes because he realizes that he actually might be able to get the throne without keeping this facade up for multiple years. I mean, I have a little theory that once he reaches Elsa's castle, he is 100% sure that Anna is dead. That's why he kind of starts to mac on Elsa a little bit, because Anna was the plan B from the very get-go. Also, shout out to Anna's coronation dress. It is actually one of my favorite, if not my actual favorite, Disney princess dress. I think the Anna and Kristoff romance is cute and doesn't take away focus from the main relationship between Anna and Elsa as well. Also, look at the difference in how they roll down this mountain at the 59-minute mark. Dude, it's killing me. Kristoff's got that technique. It's interesting how Elsa calls her powers a curse in the For the First Time in Forever reprise, the best song on the soundtrack, when we found out through the trolls that it actually wasn't a curse. It was probably just so that she could rhyme it with the word worse, but I really like it. Elsa kind of is a good character for communicating the differences between the stages of healing, or whatever you want to call it. She's like punishing herself even when she's free, because freedom was only one part of her joy. The other was self-acceptance and love. Number 11.
Hey, Maggie, take a look at your new home.
Oh my god, yell at the heavens, I don't care. I love this movie. And you know what? I'm gonna say something. I believe, much like the way people don't appreciate Sleeping Beauty partly due to the characters with the most screen time being 3 old ladies, I think people can't appreciate this movie because there are 3 middle-aged female cows bickering in it. Because this movie is solid and funny, and you can't let yourself enjoy it because an overweight woman burps in it. Well, overweight cow. Oh, but Treasure Island's flatulence creature is the peak of comedy.
Fart humor, yeah? Yeah.
Also, nobody's talking enough about the fact that this is Disney's most well-animated 2D movie ever made, probably because the aesthetic is sepia down, but I still want to comment on it because, aesthetic aside, from a technical perspective, this movie is goated. And don't forget the main villain who schemes and steals by hypnotizing cows with yodeling. See, I've always wanted to experience that exact thing in a movie. You're just not seeing the other films give camp like this. On a real note, the songs in this movie make me so emotional. It's also fun how the movie is practically a race. It places the 3 main characters in opposition to the second best Disney horse ever created, who then eventually joins forces with them to defeat the bad guy. This movie is a feminist film about community and sisterhood, and that scares people. Also, her name is Pearl and she owns a farm. Interesting. Very interesting. Number 10.
And look, glass slippers.
Disney really does thrive the best when it's making princess musicals. I love Cinderella. Of course, a story about a victim of abuse escaping said abuse will always be easy to get invested in. Disney's first take on this classic fairy tale is absolutely my favorite version of it, even though I am very partial to Brandy. You don't have to be ugly just because others are. Even though it's difficult to be kind and loving in the face of cruelty, and sometimes you might want to lash out, you'll be happier for it in the long run. And there is hope for you. A life exists where you don't have to suffer unnecessarily. A future exists where you aren't beaten and bullied. And unlike the way critics of this movie talk about Cinderella like she's some pathetic anti-feminist weakling for not single-handedly freeing herself from her horrible stepmother, I adore how this movie doesn't blame Cinderella even for 1 second for the situation she's in. Maybe you only have the energy to survive right now. Maybe you don't know how to change your situation just yet. And that's okay. Just take it one day at a time. Hey, Cass. Number 9.
Maybe send me an angel. The nicest angel you have.
Stitch is so cute. Lilo is so cute. Ani and Lilo have such a cute relationship. Yeah, I got teary-eyed watching this movie. Do you have a problem with that? This movie is really heartbreaking, especially the parts where it becomes obvious how much Lilo and Stitch parallel each other. I can't even say anything smart because this entire movie I was just teary-eyed thinking, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Number 8.
I'm warning you. My father won't take kindly to you. No, that's close enough.
I was never that into Tarzan as a little girl. I probably watched the movie once and then promptly forgot everything that happened in it. He didn't really speak to me. Maybe it was the Gollum loincloth situation going on, but I can't deny it. Body undeniably T. The way specifically his musculature was drawn is so impressive. This movie's kind of incredibly well written. Probably the most well written Disney movie of all time. The moment where Tarzan holds his hand up to Jane's, that is cinema. Jane and Tarzan in general are crazy good as a couple. I was so shocked by how their relationship was executed so well, and they also have amazing chemistry. Number 7.
I don't see how a world that makes such wonderful things could be bad.
There is a reason why The Little Mermaid revolutionized the animated musical. Ariel is low-key crazy as hell for not taking issue with the species that's cannibalizing her people. All because she likes a boy and wants to be human. But because she wants it so deeply and so sincerely, and through the beautiful Broadway-inspired songs that Jodie Benson delivers with such passion, we get to feel right along with her. Number 6.
You will kill her.
But your majesty, the little princess!
The cherry blossom trees. The way her dress, cape, and hair flow in the wind. This movie made me cry just because of how much care was put into it. It's still one of the most beautiful and technically impressive animated movies of all time. Actually, scratch that. It's one of the most beautiful and technically impressive movies of all time. Here's my dwarf ranking within my movie ranking, because of course there's someone out there who deeply cares about this. Number 7 is Dopey. He made me so uncomfortable as a kid. I don't know why he looks like that and why he acts like that. There's something ableist about the way he's portrayed. Number 6, Doc.
You're scared of the 7 dwarfs?
It's just Doc. He's creepy. I mean, the guy went to medical school. What's he doing living with 6 coal miners?
He's kind of boring. Number 5, Sneezy. Number 4, Sleepy. Sleepy is kind of cute. Number 3, Happy. We love you, Happy. You bring up the vibes immensely. Number 2, Grumpy. Grumpy kind of gives Manosphere vibes in some parts of this movie, but he also carries a lot of the emotional weight, since the other dwarves feel very much like one-note characters. And number 1 is obviously Bashful because of his natural egg yolk. Number 5.
You could have lost your life.
So I got a few to spare.
Oh my god, guys, we're finally in the top 5. This is so exciting, and it only took me about 1.5 hours. That's so fabulous. This movie brings me so much joy. These 3 cats are the cutest little things in the world. I love the fact that we get to see an old cat lady be lauded as a positive thing. Also, this movie is this high up partly because it's great and beautiful and charming and lovely and I love it, but also partly because of the 2 characters, Abigail and Amelia, because I would like to queen out with them. Look at their little goose waddle. Like, how can you look at this and not think that this is the best movie of all time? Womp 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 womp. Womp 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 womp. Also, my love for this era of Disney really does shine through, I think, in my ranking. Number 4.
No! Snoops! Snoops the mouse!
See, if I can't be objective about Aristocats, I definitely can't be objective about The Rescuers. I'm sorry. The opening sequence alone makes me weep. Whenever I hear people talk about it, they talk about it like it's just one of those okay Disney movies, nothing to write home about. And that's always been so crazy to me because this movie makes me feel so many things. And I don't really know how to explain it, but I'm gonna do my best. Nothing is scarier than this movie as a child. The fear of being alone and no one looking for you. Maybe it's because watching this brings me right back to how I felt watching it as a kid. But seeing Penny finally be chosen by parents who will love her and care for her, just like how every child deserves to be loved and cared for, is such sweet relief after seeing her endure all of the horrors of the world with nothing but her animal companions. And that's not to rag on Bernard and Bianca, because they are goated. But we never see Penny interact positively with any adult human throughout the entirety of this movie before the ending. And just seeing that little girl who was so abused and so alone and so scared and in need of a hero be so brave all with the help of these two mice reminds me of how it felt being so small and helpless, and it just captures it so perfectly. And then now that I'm older, I have the added layer of understanding just how cruel this world casually is to children, and how little we care for them, and that even two mice in an animated movie are better at fighting for them than we are. And the little children have to do their best with their weak bodies and limited understanding, and there is no one around to help. As I was writing this, I was bawling my eyes out. This movie breaks and rebuilds my heart over and over again. Children are so important, and we need to really get our shit in order for their sakes, because we're all that they have. And I think more than any other Disney movie, even the ones that I like more than this, really centers what I think Disney should be caring about the most. Children.
You're a brave little girl to do what you did all by yourself.
Oh, I didn't do it all by myself. Two little mice from the Rescue 8 Society helped me.
Number 3.
That is what our story is
Will
about.
you listen to him? He's making this story sound like some Greek tragedy.
Oh my god, guys, we're in the top 3, which means I finally get to talk about Hercules. Can I just gush about the soundtrack of this movie? Whoever came up with the idea of reutilizing the concept of a Greek chorus and making them into a gospel choir, whoever came up with that deserves a kiss on the forehead, because that was a stroke of genius. Because obviously, the story is centered on Greek gods. A gospel choir sings in church, often about the Christian God. And so the layers to this are really interesting. Like, Greek chorus equals gospel choir, Greek gods equal Christian God, Onika equals burger. I also have to give tens to the characters in this movie. I mean, oh my god, you have Hercules, Meg, and then you have my absolute favorite Disney villain of all time, Hades. Hello. Even Pegasus is an all-star. The song Zero to Hero alone lands this movie in the top 20 for me. And something this movie does really well that a lot of other movies fail horrendously at is incorporating pop culture into it and having it be actually interesting and fun. Much like what they did with the Greek chorus, Hercules modernizes the mythology surrounding Hercules by making him a pop culture icon, giving him literal fangirls and merch, action hero figurines, as if he is an actual superhero in the Marvel universe. They really did their big one with this one. Like, the creative juices were flowing in those writing sessions. Number 2.
I was saying tomorrow was a pretty big day and you didn't really respond, so I'm just gonna tell you, it's my birthday!
This movie's soundtrack is also so good. The moment where Mother Gothel comes back to the tower, the music is chilling. Character-wise, this movie absolutely devours. Maximus is a Hall of Fame character to me, just absolutely ridiculous in concept, but flawless in execution. Like a horse, that's a dog. Of course, Rapunzel and Eugene / Flynn Rider are amazing separately as well as together, and the lantern scene never fails to move me, just absolutely gorgeous. Number 1.
I reckon you want a kiss?
Kissing would be nice, yes?
63 movies, and finally, I'm home. I used to hate the critique that Princess and the Frog would get, but the older I get, the more I understand how there are many meta problems with this movie. Though I do think it's sometimes blown out of proportion, it's not like the creators of the movie were ignorant to the weight that this film was carrying, as the first Disney film with a black woman in the main role. I have a limited understanding of all of the layers going on when it comes to representation for obvious reasons, and I don't want to ignore the things specifically black women have to say about this movie, because Tiana is not just some character who happens to be black. She is explicitly black and treated as such from a design perspective, in the script when it comes to her socioeconomic status, by the characters in the story giving her microaggressions, through her voice. There wasn't any way for this movie to bypass the conversation about race and representation, not just by virtue of having a black character, but by having race be such an integral part in who Tiana is. This movie tries to be more historically accurate than Pocahontas, for example, and therefore succeeds in being less tone-deaf in many ways, but it also raises the question of why it took Disney so long to make a black Disney princess, and sends the message that maybe the reason why is that Disney couldn't fathom making a traditional fairy tale centering a black character for no reason other than wanting to. Why can't a princess be black for the same reason a princess can be white and blonde? Part of the answer is definitely due to the specific versions of the fairy tales that were adapted, which were European retellings for the most part. But why? Obviously, the biggest reason is racism. The fact that the only people deciding what stories to tell were white, and you can't take that for granted without going into America's racist past. So it absolutely makes sense for this movie to awaken both feelings of joy for how far society has come, but also a regret in how society even needed to get far in the first place to give the world a black Disney princess, and to have it be such a big deal. Looking back on just Disney's past, it's overwhelming the amount of black caricatures and jokes about black people that there really are riddled throughout all of these works. And it's obviously not just black people that get hit with this. It's all kinds of people of color, differently abled people, women. I mean, really, name the minority and there's stuff here. Watching any movie from the past obviously means that you have to take it for granted that there's going to be stuff there that's going to not gel with our current social climate. But just because something is or was normalized doesn't mean that we shouldn't actually call it out for what it is and talk about it like it is something bad and that it always was bad, even though it was in the past. This thing usually happens where people will acknowledge the fact that culture and society shape our view on morals and ethics. But then all that acknowledgement leads to is an inability to hold people and art accountable because it was in the past, in a different time, was a different culture, and they couldn't have been any other way because they were born in a different time. Instead of what I think we should be doing, which is to think of how we are shaped by culture and society, and thinking about how we can move society and culture in a better direction, because we've been wrong before, so of course we are probably wrong about a lot of things now. And it's easy for someone like me to watch a movie like The Aristocats and love it in spite of the very obvious Asian caricature and just think, well, I can just ignore this scene and appreciate the movie for everything else it has to offer. But it's not right for a studio making movies directed at children to make art that inevitably harms kids watching, all because they don't care about those kids or their feelings. Why? Because they're not the kids that matter? When I was talking about The Rescuers, I was talking about how important I think it is to center children's experiences when you're making art for them. And I think I would be remiss to not also mention that children from around the globe watch Disney movies, and if Disney wants to profit off of kids from around the world, then they shouldn't just represent one type of kid. But, this is an argument for something Disney should do because it would be good, and not an argument for something Disney should do because it would give them more money. Since Disney is a capitalistic corporation, it will always sell out people of color if it means that they get to save their bottom line. And while I would love to talk about how society also creates an environment where Black stories aren't appreciated or wanted, that doesn't negate any criticism against Disney. It just maybe explains it better. It's really horrible how deep-rooted anti-Blackness is everywhere. Like, really think about it. It took Disney 48 movies to make a film with a Black main character. Over 15% of America's population is Black. 48 movies. The reason I talk about this too is because not only does this reality, the reality of systemic injustice, make it hard for art made by and for Black people to be made, but the art that does get made automatically gets held up to a virtually impossible standard. I so often think about how this movie would be lauded as a masterpiece in the same vein as The Lion King or The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast if there had been just one previous movie with a Black main character. Because even with all of the meta commentary surrounding this movie, Tiana being a frog for half of it, for example, it is undeniably an excellent movie. It handles two character arcs seamlessly and interweaves them in different and interesting ways with each other as well as the main villain. Tiana only meeting Dr. Facilier right at the climax is also an interesting choice. For the entirety of the movie, it feels almost like he is a mirror only to Naveen, which he is a mirror to Naveen, don't get me wrong. Dr. Facilier poses a great practical threat to Naveen and therefore an extension Tiana, and Naveen being born royalty losing his funds due to neglect mirrors Dr. Facilier being born presumably into poverty or some other economic lower class and clawing his way to money. This is all really interesting, but it leaves Tiana a little empty-handed, right? No. Tiana being the one to defeat Dr. Facilier is a no-brainer. Not only from an archetypical perspective, Tiana is the main protagonist, so she must defeat the main antagonist, but also from a thematic perspective. When it comes to Naveen and Tiana, they make up two halves of a whole in a sense. Tiana is all work and no play, and Naveen is all play and no work. And through meeting and understanding one another, they each grow to strike a balance between the two, respectively. And the best part, and most important one too, is that through them striking a balance between them, a third value springs forth. The value of love. The reason Tiana defeats Dr. Facilier is because her work and eventual play is rooted in love, something that she has to relearn throughout the course of the movie. Dr. Facilier has mastered both play and work from a capitalistic perspective. He works hard to play, and his play is rooted in power and his work is rooted in deception. But he has no love. The reason this is my favorite Disney movie is not just because it has the best soundtrack of any Disney movie. It's not because it's the last fully 2D animated movie and looks phenomenal, and it's not just because of the characters who bring infinite life to its scenes, like Charlotte, Tiana, Naveen, Louie, Mama Odie, etc. The reason why is because this movie is centered on love and explains it better and more beautifully than any other Disney movie in my opinion. Yes, Tiana gets rewarded in the end in typical Disney style by getting the man, the humanity, and the dress, and the crown, and the restaurant, and the whole shebang. But she did choose love over all of the other things when push came to shove. Unlike other Disney movies about love, like Frozen that juggles self-acceptance with the love theme that also plays out in most parts as a subversion, or Hercules that's more about home and a place to belong more than it is explicitly about love, Princess and the Frog is unequivocally and unabashedly about love. Tiana doesn't cook because it's her dream, she cooks because it's her dream because it helps her love.
The quickest way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Cooking brings people together, and Tiana, whether she understands it or not at the start of the movie, wants to bring people together because of love. It's her way of loving, and that is why we only see her cooking when it's for other people. It's the way she bonded with her father, it's the way she maintained community growing up, it's how she showed up for her best friend Charlotte, it's how she labored for Louie and Ray, and it's how she falls in love with Naveen. And that's why she chooses to stay a frog in the end. Not just because she loves Naveen, but because her dream is literally not worth anything without love, because love is the reason she has the dream to begin with. And it's why when Dr. Facilier talks about Tiana's father like he is a man who gave up his dream, Tiana finally sees her childhood and her dad clearly. He labored not for his dream, but for love. And isn't that the most important thing? Should we not labor for love? And with that in mind, thank you so much for listening to my labor of love. It's more than a year in the making, so I really hope that you liked it as much as I liked making it. If you disagree with my ranking, that's fine. Just know that you're wrong and I'm right, and then there won't be any problems. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.